Hi, Bruce, and Novi, Blaise and Madonna here again. So for part 2 of our balance this afternoon. So where we're at, we just got the celestial circuit balanced, and that was in third stage stress. So it was in the chronic fatigue of that centering mechanism that connects the conscious and unconscious parts of the brain. Now, once again, we need to make sure Blaise is 100% Bruce. So, or Bruce Lee, I am now 100% Bruce. Okay. Hold in, hold out. Beautiful. Aircon on. Okay, so once again, let's just go back and recheck the celestial circuit. Hold, excellent. It's locking, unlocking, locking the way it should. Okay. Now let's see, once again with the notes we've got through the email, have a squiz and see if there's a priority or whether or not we just need to go into something else. So let's have a squiz. Nope. So just go in and check the adrenals. Yeah, right. Okay. So there go the adrenals, which were okay before. Hold. Oh, it's not too bad. Survival switching. Hold. Deep survival. Hold. Hidden deep survival. Okay. Classic. So it's that brain really trying to hide stress from yourself, but it's there and it's palpable. So the nervous system's trying to hide it, but it's oozing out anyway. Okay, where's this pattern? EMC, MMC, PVSS, MMC. So it's messing with the mental modulation. So in other words, the way we're thinking, the way we're mentally processing things is being affected by the survival switching. Now don't forget, survival switching is all about keeping us safe in survival situations. So, as humans, that's about being fed, it's about being clothed, it's about being housed, it's about being happy, even though that's not in the hierarchy of things. It's fairly low on the list, but it's fairly high as humans, as a need. Let's go have a look. Okay. So there's a little part of the brain that has conflict all the time in relation to behavior. So, see, orbitofrontal cortex, hold out. And that part of the brain overworks when we're our own worst enemy and we're constantly double guessing everything we do and say and think. So we can say one thing but then double guess it a minute later, or we can say one thing, someone else agrees, but then we're arguing the other point, so we end up becoming argumentative. And we're doing it inside our own brains. So it's not easy when this little part of the brain jumps up and down. It's a combination of things, actually, Bruce. It's sort of like the rage, anger, frustration, as well as the pleasure reward centers being switched off. So it's like that combination of not feeling happy and content with your serotonin and dopamine, and the nervous system being frazzled and going into anger really quite easily. It's that combination of those. Bugger of a place to be. Not easy. Yeah, and what that's doing is messing with the corpus callosum, so stopping that connection from left to right sides of the brain. And hold, yeah, and particularly trust and trust issues. Hold. Right, so the trust and trust issues is linked in with an old pain and punishment circuit. So a time in the past when you have felt, you know, there's sort of a saying, there's no way we can change unless we've got enough pain and punishment to cause us to change. People don't like change. No one's going to change unless they've got a really good reason.
I like comfort.
Yeah, people like comfort.
It's good.
But what are you willing to do to get that comfort?
As little as possible. I think that's how it works, right?
So with the trust issues, let's just find out when this sort of started. No, it's really quite young actually. So sort of between 5 and 10 years old. Let me check. So 5 to 5.5 to 6 to 5.5 to 6, 5.5 to 6 years old. Okay. So 5 years, 6 months, 7 months, 8 months. So 5 years, 8 months. Okay. It was around masculine energy in the household. So probably your father, but you know that masculine energy is about strength and doing and getting stuff done and providing and all that stuff that encompasses that masculine energy in a household. No. Yeah, right. And at the moment, because you feel stuck and getting out of wanting to move forward but not feeling able to do so, part of that's because of the lack of motivation, because when you were really young, there was something about that masculine energy that felt like if it was always tough as a kid to have everything you needed, and you saw other kids having things that you didn't have, that's not a nice space to be in as a kid. So even when you start getting things, your brain has this belief that I'm not going to have it for long, or I'm going to lose it, or poverty consciousness, I can't afford to do things, or what if I make money, I'm just going to lose it all anyway. So poverty consciousness can really impact on the way we express ourselves in our world and our lives. It's not a lot of fun having that as part of our makeup. It didn't show up in the genetic line though earlier on. Let me just double check that. No. No, it's not back up to 3 generations on either your mother or your father's side, so I'm not worried about that. I am motivated, I am worthy. And hold. Okay. Which is making the brain want to run away. So just even feeling you're worthy for whatever reason is making your brain want to run away. So perhaps that means that you start moving forward, and that part of the ego that wants to protect yourself doesn't want to be wrong, it doesn't want to be hurt, it doesn't want to be let down. So then it's easier to get unmotivated and you don't want to do it, because if you don't do it, you can't get hurt. So I might see if there's a grief gauge, because we're talking around that 5 years old pattern that's resurfacing at the moment. I might see whether there's something in the developmental directory and grief gauge associated with it. Yeah, right. So this is that'll be me looking for my glasses. When things are tough for us as a kid, it's often said that we grow up way too quick. So at 5 years, at sort of that 5.5, you were already starting to think more like a teenager than like a little 5-year-old kid. So the brain already had a belief that your identity was about commitment to the family and responsibility for the family. And almost feeling self-reliant at that young age. So that's pretty huge, to feel like you have to be self-reliant when you're only really young. And it's like then you lose your flexibility, because really, if you don't have enough as a child, or at least if it's challenging to have enough as a child, then you lose your flexibility to move forward, because really the flexibility is around choices. When you're young and you don't have enough, there's not a lot of choice. So at the moment, you're at a crossroads in life. You can choose what direction you want to go, and you've got support in Novi. So you're at this point where you can choose what you want to do. You've got support. So how are you going to move forward? But so your nervous system doesn't like flexibility. It likes control. It likes consistency. It likes sticking to what it knows, because what it knows, that's about safety. No, that's good. Okay. Yeah, right. So at a young age, I'm imagining there was a bit of acting out with your behaviour. So that's the behaviour. So when we feel vulnerable, rather than, people will do one of two things if we're feeling vulnerable. We either go inside and we're mousy and we don't put ourselves out there to the world, or you become that boisterous, confident person that no one would ever know that there was vulnerable inside. And when we're feeling frustrated and angry and resentful of, especially people who have a lot and don't feel worthy of it, when you're sort of looking at the way they're squandering, that's the word I was sort of thinking. Because a lot of the time when we've been in the I don't have anything phase, and you're looking at the haves, it just feels like, why is everyone else entitled to what I'm not entitled to? So it puts that unworthiness on us. So the acting out can really be anything from, just getting in trouble, doing things that we know are against the law, or even alcohol and that sort of thing, or, let's face it, it's sort of the lack of looking after ourselves, as well as things like being the class clown or all those sort of fun things. Where to get jammed with the grief gauge. Yeah. Oh, okay. So I've got two things showing up here. At the 5-year-old thing, it's getting stuck in blame. But currently, it's stuck down in despair. There's like a despair that things will get better. But anyway, so under the blame game, it's active. Yeah, right. So it's feeling cynical about things, cynical that things can get better. Being distrustful that things can get better. Yeah, being a bit bitter that things aren't better. So that's stuff you've been holding on to for a long, long, long time. So now moving forwards, because where we're stuck at the moment is more under, despair. It's like that lack of hope. And so when the nervous system gets so used to something, it just can't see that way forward. It gets really, really stuck. Yeah, so that general feeling of hopelessness and almost fatalistic that, this is my life. What's the point in trying? And then occasionally getting those feelings of depression, that life is barren, there's no joy, there's no hope. Not a very fun place to be.
Yeah, why did that happen?
So the reticular activating system is the next little place showing up. So the RAS sits in behind the brain stem, and it controls what hormones you release when something new happens in your life. And at the moment, right, and once again, this is an old pattern that your brain's recycling all the time. So it's assuming that anything new is going to be bad for you. So it's switching down your serotonin. So serotonin is calming, it's soothing, it's the antidepressant hormone. So it's deliberately switching down your serotonin so you can't relax and be happy, because it's creating vigilance in your nervous system so that and I'm not saying this is a good thing, this is just what the nervous system's doing. It's trying to be vigilant, and it's trying to stop you from really feeling relaxed, because your nervous system, your unconscious brain, is assuming that anything new is going to be stressful. And your nervous system's going, I don't want any more stress.
I was thinking before about the muscle testing, and you check if it's like overloaded or not.
Yeah.
And I guess the comparison that I made is, what you're doing is you're going, all right, let's see if I can turn this light switch on. You turn the light switch on, and the light turns on. You go, good. Turn the light switch off, the light goes off.
Yeah, right.
Okay? And you go, okay, good. But yeah, a lot of the time it's like, all right, is the light on in this room? It's off. Yeah, oh well, let's see if we could get this light working again. You know, you change the bulb, you come back.
How many kinesiologists does it take to change a light bulb? Yeah.
But
no,
yeah.
that is, yeah.
And then once the light's on, you go, all right, cool. Can I turn it off? No. All right. What's going on here?
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't want all your lights on all the time.
Yeah,
or you'll get a big electricity bill.
Exactly. And you run out of electricity. So that's when your adrenals are on all the time and they just get exhausted.
Well, we could say that the light bulbs do have a watt-hour life. They have an hour lifetime. Modern light bulbs have something like an 800-hour lifetime expected life. So.
8,000 or something. It's heaps. Yeah.
Yeah, the good ones.
Yeah.
The cheapy $1 for one. Yeah.
The RAS is now showing up that because of that vigilance and lack of serotonin, it's messing with some of the musculature in your body. So at this point, I'm going to check the gaits and the arm length and just double check that. Oh no, we did that when we first turned over. So, okay, in the clear. So that's perfect down here at the feet at the moment. Fingers outstretched. Yeah, it's out by about an inch. That's not too bad. It was out by much more earlier on. Yeah, it was quite huge. So let me just body scan to see where the tension is in the muscles. Okay, the left hip. Right shoulder. Oh yeah, and there's often that contralateral sort of thing going on with the muscles opposite.
For whatever reason.
And the jaw. Okay. So, firstly, I'll just stack in the fascia from right shoulder to left hip. Yeah, and one of the things about hormones as we get older as well, as you know, because most people as we get older we start to lay down tummy fat on the tummy. So one of the things that tummy fat does when our BMI creeps up, so our body mass index, once it's over about 30, which is 10% more than your optimal body weight. No, it's not. It's 20% more than your optimal body weight, your BMI being 30. So basically what that can do, that tummy fat becomes the major endocrine organ of the body. So our liver is trying to metabolize our estrogen, progesterone, testosterone all the time. When it can't do it, when the liver can't do it, it sort of goes down into the small intestines, back up into the liver, and this can go on for days and days and days. We basically end up recycling our hormones if we haven't dealt with them, in the first round. So when our liver isn't working with fatty liver or liver disease or frustration, liver's about internalized rage, anger, frustration. So it can really impact on our moods. But then the tummy fat can actually convert, in women it can convert estrogen into toxic forms of estrogen, which cause things like breast cancers and cervical cancers and stuff like that. It can turn into a toxic form of testosterone, which can cause us to be really angry women. Good old PMT. With men, the tummy fat can convert the testosterone into a form that just can't be metabolized properly and can really create some big anger issues. One of the biggest things you can do that's so cheap and easy is getting some zinc into your life. Zinc is important for about 500 functions in the liver, so it's massively good for the liver. It's good for your immune system. It incredibly good for helping your body to metabolize and create good, healthy testosterone. Great for sperm count too. About 70% of the weight of sperm is actually zinc. Fairly important. So yes, I was just sort of thinking, because there's musculature across here, that fascia from right shoulder to left hip, because that is the equivalent of wanting to, run away. Oh, and actually, because you've got the feet are even now, but the upper body, that's about standing and fighting. It's standing your ground, but you're still ready to fight. That's sort of the imbalance that's there at the moment. Now with the jaw, yeah. Okay, mask has to come off.
Oh no.
Oh no, we're going to die. Okay, so I'm just going to do some musculature around here. Some little resets.
One of the less comfortable movements.
Oh no, the jaw.
I can tell the future.
Yes.
We will be interrupted. Can you do live streams yet?
I can, I just don't know how. We should do one.
Yeah, how's your Wi-Fi on your phone? No
Should
idea.
I know that? Is that a girl question?
Well, do you find that when you are connected to the Wi-Fi and you're on your phone and you're watching YouTube, does it crap out half the time, or does it just work?
Oh no, it tends to.
Well, does it work and then it sort of cuts out and it works again, or does
We'll
it
have
just
to-
work?
Yeah, no, I think sometimes it cuts out.
Yeah, so one of my big upsetting bits of knowledge is the reliability of a constant, good, strong connection to the internet in Australia is subpar, to say the least. So, you know, one of the big arguments in
That's why
Australian
it takes me so long to
history,
upload these. Yeah.
one of the big arguments in Australian history is whether we did the right thing with NBN. And you can always say, well, we couldn't afford to do it correctly. So let's just do it badly. Okay, well, let's spend a whole lot of money, pay that off over the next 40 years, and still not have current generation internet for our country.
Yes.
Sounds good.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Now, back to Bruce. Sorry, Bruce. No, I was sort of checking. So what I'm doing now is checking which organs are linked in with the trauma and the stress that's being held in your body. And the first organ that showed up is lungs. And lungs are about internalized grief, guilt, regret. So that old stuff like not being able to get back when your father died. So that becomes a grief in the lungs. And lung and heart energy are really closely connected. And once that area shuts down, it's like we don't want to be vulnerable again, because then you get hurt again. And hold.